Hello, everybody. It's Kristina Dennis, the Transformational Self-Empowerment Master. And it's Monday and a little later than I normally come in, but I was busy getting my hair done, which is why it looks so smooth. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue, Sue, Sue. Also, I'm seeing some dark circles. I just want to call that out. And hopefully tonight I'll take a little action, a little self-love action and go to sleep. That might not have sounded right. I will take measures into my hands to make sure that I am able to sleep without interruption. All right, we got to do something about this drape. Be right back. Okay, a little better. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about something I heard today. I'm always listening when I'm doing chores and trying to learn, and I think that's a wonderful trait that I was blessed with, curiosity and improvement and seeking to be a better self. Some people, I've heard it called mainlining self-improvement. I'm not sure, but it certainly does give me a lot of insight and a lot of hope. And I just learned new ideas and things that I wasn't ready for the first time I heard them. I'll hear them a second time and I'm like, oh yes, that's ready. But today I was listening to Dr. Brene Brown, and I find her amazing. And her work on vulnerability and shame is it's earth-shattering for many people, and it certainly was a confirmation for me about the fact that dealing with your emotions and dealing with who you are, me dealing with who I am, a sensitive person, was very important. And incredibly, I mean, there's a direct correlation to handling my business and being who I need to be out there in the world and having a fulfilling life and one of harmony and true purpose. And so she's been around, I guess the first talk came out in 2010. That's 9 years. And I know she still does a lot of really great work talking to corporations. So any idea that this is, frilly stuff or, exercises in futility and it doesn't really apply, we could just stop ourselves right there, because Fortune 500 companies are hiring her to discuss things and asking her to consult to help break the systems that are not serving them either. Her among many others. But she was talking about the two sources of shame. There are two statements of shame. And one of them is, I'll never be good enough. And the second one, which is definitely the one that screams in my face, because I had a Southern grandmother who was mentally ill raising me, pretending to be my mother, and had so much anger and stress and I was her main focus because I was the illegitimate child that all these lies were built around. And she would say, who do you think you are? But she'd get right in my face when I was 6, 7, 8, 9. And, a lot of times it made me angry. A lot of times it helped me propel to get to be excellent, but it's no excuse. And I can explain away all of her behavior because I have compassion and empathy at this point in my life and have for many, many years, but it doesn't excuse any of it. And so anytime that I am daring to be courageous, can't say the word even, courageous, anytime that I'm daring to be vulnerable, anytime that I'm daring, being brave, that lie or that question, that statement that was meant to cut me down in size, and it was meant to make sure that I didn't think higher of myself than I should. It was designed to hurt, will pop up. And I have to, replace it with another thought. But it is still kind of there. And that comes back to the trauma that was delivered with it and the system that I was raised in. And those are processes that I have to break now that I'm an adult. And when I started this journey 23 years ago, 24 years ago, actually, I started about the age of 13 when I started realizing that she was dealing with a mental illness and I needed to do what I needed to do to survive. And doesn't mean that it doesn't plague me or that it has gone away, no matter how much work. It still shows up, especially when I'm tired and I got the dark circles, or I've been pushing it, or I haven't eaten well. And that's why in my guidebook, we talk about personal care. And that's why I will at least once a week talk about self-care, because when I am tired, when I am hungry, when I have not taken care of myself, that's when a lot of damage can come back. Damaging statements could show up in my head. So back to, who do you think you are? And I had an idea, and I think goes back to my work that I talk about, and it's activity step 3 in the guidebook of moving toward a transformation and the skill set, because it is a skill set. Skill sets. Confidence is a skill set. That statement is going to I'm going to make a little twist with it. And I have decided that I need to know who I think I am. And that is what I did all those years. I had to discover and figure out who I was and who I didn't want to be anymore, and what I was going to do with those kinds of traits and how I was going to address them. And it took little steps moving forward, always pushing to be honest, to be accountable, to be brave, and to allow myself to have mistakes made, to push away from perfectionism, all the things. So in activity step 3, what I talk about is making sure that you take the things that you've learned from step 1 and step 2, and we start asking ourselves a set of questions to figure out who we are. And again, inventory, self-reflection, assessment, whatever word you want to put to it, it's about taking stock in who you really are. So at this point, if you've been following the writings, or if you go on my website, transformationalselfempowerment.com, you'll see a guidebook that you can download for free. It's my gift to you to get you started. And you will take the time, hopefully, to be at activity step 3. You've already figured out your statement, where you are right now, where you're starting, and how you got there, okay? Because you need your histories and you need to have the information. And then activity step 3 is going to talk about, what does that mean exactly to you? Not what does that mean to your employees? What does that mean to your children? What does it mean to you? And how do you feel about many, many areas in your life? And it's so important to take this time. As I said, there are corporations spending a ton of money on empowering their managers, empowering their CEOs, empowering their board of directors to do this work. So you may want to call it emotional work. I don't have a problem with calling it emotional work. I know that people who are willing to deal with their emotions or look at them are some of the bravest people and the ones of the most courage out there. So I appreciate that when people are willing to do that. It's still not an incredibly safe place. So you better make sure you pick your person who is going to be in your corner regardless. Who's not going to judge you. They're not going to shame you. They're not going to say, oh, wow, or how did that happen? Or yes, let me figure out how we do this. Let's figure out how we get, how we get you better. Whatever the statements are that have come out, and you know those people. I know you know those people, and you have to take note of that because you're an adult now. So if you go to somebody with a story or something that you are ashamed of, and they automatically use it as a way to get even, make themselves one up, look down upon you, they're not safe people. They may be people that are okay to have brunch with every once in a while. I'm not saying cut them out of your life. I'm just saying you don't go to those people with your stories and what you need. You go to people that are going to have your back, and they're going to listen, and they're going to breathe with you, and they're going to love you. And there are people out there like that. Many of us, myself included, were so wounded in our childhood that we couldn't recognize what a true, loving, supportive person was. We had parents that said, I'm there for you, I support you, I love you, this is love, while they hurt us. And they sent us messages of shame and discouragement. So we come out with these warped ideas of, oh, that is what love is. When you say, come here, stay away, come here, stay away, that's love, that's love. And I have to chase after that. And I have to find those kinds of people. Or we pick people, the cool group. And there's a cool group, I think, in any circle, in any part of our life. There are a group of people that we have made up a story about that have an elevated status. And so we go after those people. I am encouraging you to take the time to look at what you've written as far as your statement of who you are and where you came from, and start asking some of these deep questions. And they're all on my website. You can go on there and list them. I'll talk a little more about them this week. But make sure that you understand, one, that the work you're doing is hard and it takes courage, and it is so worth it. It's important to have that kind of life, that authentic life. It's important to be brokenhearted to the right people. When my son was born, I had an overwhelming love for him, and I also had an overwhelming sadness for myself. And we could clinical we could whatever, make it clinical and say postpartum depression, but I knew it wasn't. What it was that I realized the love that I didn't get, um, because I loved my son so much, and I realized how vulnerable an infant and a child is for the first time. Because I had to make up a story when I was being raised. I had to make up a story that I was strong and that I could get through it. And that's not necessarily a story. It is what I was. I had to survive it so that I could be here doing this kind of work. And when I saw what I missed out on for the first time, I allowed myself to have this grief, and I allowed myself to have the gratitude of having love for my son at the same time. And I didn't question either one. I was lucky enough to have been down the road of recovery for 8 years at that time, and thank God, because honestly, I don't know how people do it without a support group, without a faith. I have to do it that way. So that's the first thing that I figured out, was that I was hurt. The second thing I figured out when he had his diagnosis was that I was broken open. Oh my gosh. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live either. And I had to share that. And I had been, in the world of supporting others and being part of it. I've been fighting my disease of perfectionism. I have been fighting stories that, who do I think I am? And you're not good enough. I have been pushing for so long that I just kept going and bringing him in. And I see Rick on there. Hi, Rick. And people like us who have these kinds of children in our lives. We have these kinds of stories. We get to see that. We see what true courage is. And, he taught me to keep going, brokenhearted and messy. And I am so grateful for that, sitting here 14 years later, because it has allowed me to have the life that I have now and the life that I've had. So I encourage you to do this work. I thank you for, checking in, and I will be back with more tips about figuring out, who you are at this point. Exactly. Because who do you think you are? Today, I think I am somebody who takes people's feelings into consideration. I am kind. I am a hardworking mom. I am a hardworking friend. I support people emotionally who are going through incredibly difficult situations. I work with people when they're having their moments of like an exciting thing that they weren't sure they could do it. And I'm a cheerleader. And I'm also melancholy and sad sometimes. I'm a woman of faith who does the things that I think are important to do. And sometimes I have pride and ego, and I make a lot of mistakes. So that's who I think I am today. I don't think I'm better. I don't think I'm less. I just think I'm part of this world. And I hope that you will get to that place as well if you're not there yet. Talk to you soon. Bye.